From Ronda Rousey and Chris Cyborg to Rose Namajunas and Joanna Jedrzejczyk, the UFC is full of amazing rivalries. So why don't we talk about some of them? Starting with Amanda Nunes and Valentina Shevchenko. Both of them are two amazing fighters, but Shevchenko's time in this rivalry hasn't been good at all. These two have fought 2 times, and Shevchenko has lost both fights. Now, I don't mean that Nunes absolutely dominated both of the fights. One of them she did. The other one was a really close fight. It could have gone either way. Nunes won via split decision.
Champion of the world, Amanda, the Lioness.
Shevchenko was great in the second bout and gave some tough competition to Nunes, but you know, in the end, it only matters who won the fight. Plus, the second fight was also of greater significance, since it was for the UFC Bantamweight Championship, and what's bigger than a belt? But getting that fight scheduled wasn't an easy gig for the UFC. They tried to schedule it for UFC 213, but Nunes pulled out. Apparently, she got sick. But Shevchenko thought otherwise, though. She thought Nunes' weight cut was the reason why she backed off from that fight. Shevchenko was shocked when the judges announced Nunes as the winner.
All around it was mine in just one takedown. I think about this takedown, it judges they give to other side.
She normally isn't very aggressive or outspoken, but she couldn't stand that decision. She pointed at Nunes' face to show the damage she had done to her and said she couldn't make any sense of the judges' decision. Can't wait for them to fight again. And the same goes for Rose Namajunas and Tecia Torres. Let's jump way back to 2013 with this one. These two were dominating the cage of Invicta FC until the two vicious forces took on each other. The first fight took place inside the same cage. For the first time, it was Namajunas versus Torres. In July 2013, everyone had their eyes set on this fight. The two collided in the cage, but in the end, Tecia Torres came out on the top. After an amazing fight, the decision went to the judges, who voted Tecia as the winner.
Undefeated, the Tiny Tornado.
This just like solidified that, this is where I need to be,
No wonder she's also known as the Tiny Tornado. She's nothing short of one. But Rose, on the other hand, wasn't ready to accept the judge's decision. She was convinced she had won, but the opposite happened. This led to a huge rise in tension between the two ladies. 3 years later, in 2016, it was time for them to meet again, but this time, it was inside the octagon. It was an even bigger fight than the last time, because first of all, it was for UFC, but secondly, Rose had some matters to settle, and that ended up happening. Rose came out on the top and won that fight convincingly.
Beat her last. We're going into this fight 0-0. We're 2 different fighters.
Winning in Tampa Bay means title shot for me.
Currently, the rivalry is tied at 1-1. We still haven't seen a third fight between the two, and literally everyone wants to see a tiebreaker. Speaking of tiebreakers, we never needed one with this next rivalry. Joanna Jedrzejczyk and Claudia Gadelha, both of them were one of the best prospects in UFC when they first met. They were making a name for themselves in the UFC strawweight division. What makes this rivalry even special is that when they first met, both of them were undefeated. One of them had to go home with their first ever loss. Both the fighters had their own strengths. Joanna's kickboxing and defensive skills were unmatched.
Oh, she tagged her and again. An elbow. Oh, beautiful front kick to the face.
But Gadelha wasn't coming easy as well. She had immense power in her hands and a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. The clash ended in a split decision. Joanna's hand was raised after the fight, and of course, Gadelha wasn't happy about it. She thought she was robbed of that win by the judges.
UFC strawweight champion of the world.
Joanna, on the other hand, didn't care about anything. The two ladies met again, but this time as coaches on The Ultimate Fighter. But they still had some confrontations while filming. Gadelha was still angry about that split decision. Things started getting worse between the two during the filming, but it was finally time to settle this in the octagon. Joanna won once again, but this time it was a far more convincing victory than the last one. And with that, the debate was over. However, the only one of Joanna's iconic rivalries, cause who can forget about her and Rose Namajunas? Joanna was an unbeaten beast in the UFC, and she was fresh off a convincing win over Jessica Andrade. Let me just tell you on little thing about Andrade. She's one of the scariest women fighters in UFC history. Namajunas, on the other hand, didn't have an impressive record. She had a 6-3 record, and the wins only consisted of decisions and submission. So clearly, Joanna was the favorite to win the fight. But the unthinkable happened. Namajunas knocked Joanna out in the first round of the fight. Crazy!
Unbelievable! Look at this. Boom, the lights go out in Georgia.
Jody said that to learn
Incredible.
Trevor Whitman's striking system, it takes time.
Everyone in the audience was shocked. And obviously, Namajunas was the new strawweight champion.
Crap going on in the media, news and stuff, and I just want to try and use my gift of martial arts to try and make this world a better place and change the world.
Joanna didn't take that loss well though. She demanded an immediate rematch. And guess what? Her wish was granted. Despite the second fight between the two being a close one, Joanna still lost. But she claimed herself to be the queen of that division. Calm down, Joanna. And if you think this was crazy, things get even better when the next rivalry on my list, Ronda Rousey and Chris Cyborg. When Rousey made her MMA debut, Cyborg was failing her drug test. As a result, she was stripped of her Strikeforce championship and was suspended for a whole year. Rousey, in the meanwhile, started making waves in the MMA. She won fight after fight to win her own Strikeforce championship, but when Cyborg came back, everyone wanted to see her go at it against Rowdy Ronda. But there was one little problem though. Cyborg was in the featherweight division while Rousey was in the bantamweight. Despite having not fought each other, things started to heat up between the two. Cyborg accused Rousey of avoiding the matchup because she was scared of her, and Rousey wasn't quite at all too. She accused Cyborg of gaining advantages by abusing banned substances. Yikes. Rousey even started questioning Cyborg's philosophy. We never got to see a fight, but still, it was an intense and ugly rivalry as rivalries get. A fight would have been nice though, but hey, at least we got to see these two scare off, Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate. It has to be the best of the lot. They fought each other for 2 different titles, and these fights were across 2 different promotions. After her 4th professional MMA win, Rousey wanted to do something big, so she openly called Tate out for a fight, starting an intense rivalry between the two.
Two beautiful women who hate each other, who also happen to be some of the most skillful mixed martial artists on the planet.
Tate was the Strikeforce bantamweight champion at the time as well. Things even got worse when the fight was booked. Tate claimed that Rousey didn't deserve a title shot at the time, and said she only has a huge fan base because of her good looks. And that's not it. She even said that Rousey always gets her favorite fights, and the fight night was an ugly one too. Rousey won the first fight, but things were far from over. Tate's then partner Brian Caraway even threatened to knock Rousey's teeth out. Whoa. The rematch was inside the UFC octagon. It was a competitive fight, but there was only one winner, Ronda Rousey.
The undisputed UFC.
And boy, there was bad blood between the two. When Tate wanted to shake Rousey's hand after the fight, Rousey rejected the handshake. Crazy! Tate even celebrated Rousey's defeats to Holm and Nunez. Brutal. That's all from my side. These were the best female rivalries in the UFC. See you in the next one.